Let's continue now with unwrapping and texturing some of the assets for the tunnel project. And I've got what I call the electrical stuff here. I've actually separated this out into two parts and put materials on this to make it a bit easier and a bit more convenient with respect to texture resolution, so that I've got TP electrical, which is, let's go into edit mode there. All right, so I've got the pipes here, and I've got the electrical stuff here. And I can actually get rid of that on there, and I can get rid of the electrical on there. So that's the pipes, and that's the electrical. And I'm going to unwrap them separately, and that means that the pipe section, which I'm going to do first, is going to have its own UV space, just to increase textile density or texture resolution, and the electrical stuff will have its own as well. So I'm going to do a couple of different things here. I'm going to unwrap a little bit manually and a little bit using Smart UV Project. So I'm going to come to the back here, and I'm going to start adding some seams to these pipes like this. And it's going to take a couple minutes to do this. I'm going to work mostly on the back, and I'm also going to make sure that I get these pieces here and unwrap them, or sorry, put a seam on them before we unwrap. So I'm just hitting Control R. I'm also going to come into these joints and select the spot and mark seam. Doesn't necessarily matter if I get the actual middle one. That's going to break these pieces out and maximize the UV space. And some of them are just a pipe tucked under, like that one's under, so I'm not going to do that. So come work my way down here and see if this one's tucked under. That one's tucked under, so I'm just going to leave that, but I'll split it there. And for this thing here, I think that's an actual thing there, so I can do that. I'm going to break this big piece up. So I'm just going to choose usually the middle one if I can, or the one closest to where it changes from this direction to up to 90 degrees or whatever. And I'm just going to split this apart. And there's no real science for me doing this. I just find it works relatively well for what I want. So you see, I don't really care. You're not going to see it up super close. Whether I do another one there, it's not going to matter that much. It's going to be such a small piece. But just going to break it up into little pieces so that I can get rid of, I can probably get rid of two of these here. And no, maybe I won't get rid of two, just get rid of one. I'm not going to be too worried. I don't want to take too much time doing that stuff. Mark seam down there. And I'll do another one. Where did that one go? Okay, I'll do one up here as well. Let me just zoom up. Yeah, okay. And these little pieces here. I'll get rid of one more. Maybe not that one. No, you know what? I'm just going to unmark the seam. I'll do one up there. I'm going a little quick. I might make a mistake. I probably should slow down. But I'm just going to do this. And then I'm going to come in here. Get that one. And that one. And I'm going to leave these. I don't feel like doing all that. We're going to just do it with Smart UV Project, I think. And it should be okay. Coming to the end of this guy here. Grab one there, down there somewhere. And just keep moving along. If I do this as one big piece, just split down the middle, it's going to take up so much of the UV space. But if I do it like this, but it depends how you're texturing. I think that just goes under. So I'm just going to continue this one down there. Okay, so there's that. Now I want to come back to here because I think this piece here, I want to break this off. So I'll just grab an edge and mark seam. And this one and mark seam as well. So I'll go there. Let's have a look at this. I'm sure I've missed some stuff over here. Yeah, okay, let's come around to the back. of this big guy here. And grab that, that edge is fine there. It's also going to help, as far as I can tell anyhow, with putting the textures down like rust and stuff. Okay, I'm going to come underneath this one, and that's going to go to there, and then I'm going to come up here, mark a seam. Maybe I'll break this out. Maybe I'll do right in the middle there. That could be really a sharper edge, but I don't know. My style seems to be that way. And we'll come along here, and I'm going to drop a seam down here, and down here. And then, you know, I could do the same thing. I could break this apart. Okay, I'll do the same here. I'll do these two together. And then I think I'll continue. I'll just put one seam there to open that up, and one seam here to open that up. And this piece I'm going to do the top, and maybe this back corner here to open that up. I think that'll be all right. Let's keep going and just make sure I haven't missed anything there. Okay, let's come down to these ones. I did that, did that. Did I do this one down here and behind? Yeah, okay. Let's try that and see if I've got it all unwrapped. You unwrap, and I get that. And I'm probably okay with that. I'm just looking it over from this angle to see if there's anything I obviously missed, and there's always a chance. Now, these things here I didn't do, and so they're part of that. I want to turn this on and just see where that ends up. See if it ends up unwrapped. I'm going to grab a few of them and Control Plus. I just want to see them here. Yeah, they seem to be getting unwrapped, so I think maybe that's okay. I'm going to press N and pack. You could use Blender to pack it. I'm going to leave it like that, and that means the pipes are unwrapped. Alright, so I'm going to just hide that and get it out of the way, and that way I can really see. Okay, so this is the electrical stuff now. And what I want to do here is mostly Smart UV Project, but I want this stuff unwrapped differently. So I'm selecting a bit in Control L. Take it back. I want to put a couple seams on here to make it easier to apply textures. So I'm going to grab an edge down there, whether it's that one. That's probably fine. Again, we're not going to get that close. Select a bit, period key to zoom in. And that one is the one closest to the base, so I'll mark seam there. So those two and this one over here, sort of a light or a button or whatever that is, I don't really know. I'll mark seam there. Okay, so I do want that one selected anyhow. Okay, so here we go. I want to select little bits of this stuff, the toggle switches, Control L. I want that, I want this and this, Control L, and I want this, Control L, and I think I'll take the bolts as well. Hold down Shift and select those, Control L, this one and this one, and these four here, and I'm going to unwrap them separately, just with U unwrap. And then they'll be sort of circular, so just U unwrap. So I'll get that. So scale it down a bit. I want those out there. I'm going to press H to hide. And now I'm going to select everything else, and I'm going to Smart UV Project. I'm going to try that with an island margin of 0.003. And I think that's what I'm going to want to do. I'm going to Alt-H to bring that back. And that gives me that relatively large, so I'm going to pack that. And we're going to try it. Bring everything back, select everything. I'm going to save. So I got my two materials. Each one has its own UV. So if I go in there, there's the UV for the pipes. There's UV for the actual electrical. Select it all. I'll save and export that as an FBX into Substance Painter. So there's the model. And it's baked, and you can see that I've got two materials here, and I can easily just hide one or the other. All right, so we are ready to go. Let's start on the pipes, and let's add a fill layer. And in the properties, I'm going to decrease the color to about mid-gray. I'm going to increase the roughness. I don't want them too shiny. I'm going to bring up the metallic. So it's going to look like that so far. Okay, this is, by the way, is going to be, I'm just going to call this metal. I'm going to right click and add a filter. And the filter I'm going to add, I do this all the time, is this matte finish rough. So you can see the effect that it gives there. I'm going to increase the grunge scale and the overall scale, decrease the intensity a bit, and we'll start getting that effect. Okay, so there's one thing. Now, I'm going to actually I'll duplicate this, and I'm going to get rid of that filter. I'll leave the same color for now. I'm going to right click. I'm going to add a different filter this time, and it's this second row, second one, matte finish powder coated. Add that. That'll put these flakes here. I'm going to increase the scale until I get something I like, and then decrease the intensity, and to give that effect. Now, I'll start with that, and we'll see. And I'll pretty much have to bring it into Blender and see what it looks like with various lightings. So all of this is going to be temporary, and I may come back to it. We can try planar, that's fine. And of course I'm at 1024 for my resolution, so I can up it later and it'll be a little bit more pronounced. Alright, so we're going to start with that stuff there. In fact, I may hide the electrical. So just look at this stuff here. Alright, and may increase the size of those flakes, and of course we can decrease that there if we want to. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is try I can call this flakes if I want to get into that stuff. We'll try some metal edges on here, and I'll use just color white. We'll start with that white, black mask, generator, and metal edges. It'll kind of go all over the place on the pipes, but here you'll sort of get an edge there. I just want to bring that down. And also, again, once I go into Blender, we'll see how intense that is. It's sometimes hard to tell here. I suppose it's good to err on the side of just not having as much, but it's there, and it'll help show up. And that's another reason why I cut them here. I found that it'll find these edges a little bit better when I have the seams there, and it breaks it up. So I'll just do that. So I'll call this edges. Let's right away throw on some dirt. So I'll use color and roughness. It's debatable if I even really need the roughness, but I tend to. I'll just go dark. And a black mask, a generator, and dirt. And that'll do that. And that's going to help fill in the crevices where dirt would be anyhow, and make those edges stand out. And this is just where the other parts attach, sort of the ambient occlusion aspect of where they attach, or some dirt in between. So that gives a nice darkening effect to that. So I like that. I'm not going to mess with that too much. And then I was thinking on top of that, there's not much else to do here other than maybe adjust the roughness and see, because often you'll see, like in computer games, the metal actually looks more like plastic. It doesn't need to be really shiny, but I don't mind that. But I thought I would do one more thing. Maybe I will do a height, drop the height down, and add a black mask and a fill, And maybe we'll come in here and look for grunge and find something. We could try a couple of different things. I want something that's like kind of like that, just to put some like imperfections like this in it. The issue is going to be that I'm going to be arraying this, so anything that I have here is going to be repeated along, but hopefully, because I'm just generating it this way, hopefully it's not going to stand out too much, and they'll just blend. I can decrease that, I can increase the contrast, and you know, then it looks almost like I've sculpted it in ZBrush, almost. All right, so instead of adding scratches, that may be a little bit too much. I could do that. I can decrease, did I lose it? How visible it is. Now, let's just try jumping up to 2048, because now this stuff is a lot finer, which looks kind of neat. But, you know, I don't know. Is it something that we like? I'm gonna stick with it and see what it looks like in the overall scene. All right. So that, I think, is going to be my pipes, unless I've forgotten anything. I don't really think I need to do any bolts or screws or other alpha work. You could put all kinds of normals on this, but I'm going to leave it sort of like that. So I've got the edges, I've got dirt, I've got 2 filters on the metal, and I've got some damage. We'll call it damage. All right, so this is just grunge. Cool. Let's move to the electrical now. And for that, I'm going to use a basic plastic. I'm actually not going to use metal. I'm going to use plastic. And I was thinking of going to that kind of thing. You know, that. I'd have to hone in and get the color that I want. We'll start with that. And let's put on a filter. That initial filter I used, this one, just to break it up. Make it look a little dirtier. And maybe we could look at, well, again, I don't want this. Sometimes I'll bring the metal up a little bit, but I'm not going to do that. Let's leave it at that for the moment. And I'm going to come back to the pipes, and I'm going to steal the edges and the dirt. I'm even going to steal the grunge, and we're going to try it. I'm going to copy those layers, and I'm going to paste them over here. And let's just hide that one for the moment and hide the dirt, and just look at this one here, the edges. I'm going to come into the generator. I'm going to choose triplanar, and I'm going to smooth that a little bit, and I'm also going to decrease it. So just have a little bit of white here and there, and that may still be too much. Just a little bit of something on some of the edges. Now, I use Smart UV Project. Had I painstakingly unwrapped these, I may have a better effect with the edges. I would, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. It almost looks sort of natural, but that may be too much, but we're going to leave it for now. Let's come over to the dirt, and I don't actually have any real problems with the dirt, I don't think. I think it might be an okay amount. Does the grunge look any good? The grunge may not work on this unless I take it down, and I could try just another random. Not sure I'm going to want that. I'll just lower it quite a bit, and I'm going to leave it there for the time being as we continue to work on this. So I want to do something with the toggle switches and the antenna, and to do that I'm going to throw in another material above. I'll add a black mask here, and polygon fill. We'll use that, and we're going to select that. I'm going to select each of the toggle switches themselves. Okay, like that. And I'm going to change this to a black. I can get rid of that. roughly black. And I'm going to make them a little shinier as well. Okay, so we have those in there. And that's kind of what I'm going for that. Let me just see if I throw the dirt above it. If I want a bit of the dirt on there, I could just leave it like that. That's probably okay. I want to take this and I'm going to duplicate that layer, and I'll leave it there. I'll clear the mask, but I'm going to change the color to sort of a dull red. And as I always say, I'll start with that. We'll see. I'm going to switch to UV chunk, and because I put a seam there, it should just go there. I'm not sure that's the color that I'm going to want. Actually, it's pretty close to what I think I'm going to want. So let's come over here. I want this one like that as well, and I want this one. So this is going to be black plastic, and this is going to be, I mean, I don't want people to think it's plastic in the game, in the render, but I'm going to call it plastic because that's what it was. I'm going to duplicate that one more time. I'll clear the mask, and I'll change, not that one, this one. I'll change this color. We'll just try a green like that and see if we like it. Come over here, and I want to select that. Okay, so far so good. Now at this point I'm thinking about rust. So I'm going to come back to the pipes themselves, and I'm going to come over to the materials, and I'm going to type in rust, and let's try this rust fine. Drag that in and try a smart mask, and I'll type in rust, and let's try, for this one, should we try cavity rust? I might try edge rust, and let's see if I just do this. I just want a little bit of something here and there. I'm going to try one more. I'm going to clear that, and I'm going to try this one with the rust drips because I think I like that better. I'll decrease the rust spreading and increase the smoothness, and just play around with these values like that. And then I'm going to come back here just so it's discolored more than anything. Okay, so I've got that. I can leave that as that, and let's see if I want one more, if I want this coarse one in a slightly different way. So that's going to go over there, and smart masks, we'll type in rust again. Let's try this cavity this time. See, okay, so it's going to go in there. Okay, if I lower that a good amount just so that it's in there, I think I like it. You know, it's in the dirt and dust in the tunnel, so it could very well be there. All right. Let's say I save that, and let's try copying this over to the electrical and seeing if I want any of this on here. And that becomes far too much. And I can erase some of this as well. I just wanted to know if I wanted a little bit of that on there to dirty it up. I'm going to come back here and actually take this one. And I can change the mask, of course, for these. I'm just going to take that one and paste that on and see if yeah, that's the one that I kind of like in the crevices a little bit. And that one gives me more surface, and I already reduced that one a bit, but I am liking that to some extent. Now this one, because I've got two materials, this one's at 2K and this one isn't. Let's bring this one up to 2K. And then we can assess the the damage stuff as well. You know, we're not getting up really close. It's going to be here. And I don't know if I said this or not. This may not be the final color at all. Once I get the train in there and the concrete, you know, because this leans against a concrete wall, and I'm not sure this is the color I want. On its own, if this was just a standard model, that might look okay. Or, you know, you might come into this and say, well, let's get away from this kind of color and go to a more, you know, kind of standard electrical color, maybe more like that. I don't know. Let's try different lighting, because that's pretty much what I'm going to be going for. Okay, you can see now, you can see the rust more. So this is what I'm saying when I get in a blender and I'm looking at my lighting, I might say, you know what, I'm going to reduce that quite a bit. And I probably would do some of that. I like this Bus Garage one. And of course, there's no shadows on at this point. If I turn those on, that gives a slightly different look. And maybe I will actually move away from this one and try something else. I'll just leave it at that for the time being. I will probably leave these colors for now. And if I want to go to the orange, I will. Or if I want to go to a flat gray, I'll do that. All these things may be tweaked later. Some people do all their scene together in Substance Painter. Some people do individual assets. And then, you know, you got to try to mix and match, go back and tweak things. But for the moment, you know, this is the idea. I may come back, though, to these rusts and say, okay, what if I just decrease it there? And what if I decrease this one here? Let's just up that a bit. I kind of don't mind that. Now it almost looks a little bit more like dust instead of rust. Dust in the wind, rust in the wind. And I like that. And possibly the white has to come down on this. But that's what it's looking like. And that's basically what I'm going for this model, arrayed down. All right. The only thing is, if I'm going to do this kind of dusty, damagey kind of thing, you know, the rest of the scene has to be the same. So, yeah, I have to make sure I have to be consistent one way or the other. So it's going to take some time. And so that kind of leads me to my last couple of points here. I've got a number of other assets to do. I mean, I've done the TV, I've done the speaker, we'll call this the electrical. Aside from walls and floors and stuff, the other main assets are, aside from the train itself, the lockers, the cart, the luggage. I may go ahead and work on some of that myself. Because a lot of it will be repetitive, very similar to what I've got in these 3 videos of the TV, the speaker, and the electrical, so that I'm not doing every single step with you, and this series will take, you know, another month to do. If I do something special, I would show you that. But I may go ahead and work on some of that on my own, just so that I can get a better sense of, am I liking the texture for this one? I mean, I think the TV, which is kind of black plastic, and the speaker, which is kind of black plastic, they'll almost fit in any scene. But when you get into metals and you're trying to mix that with concrete, in addition to the plastic in the concrete, or bricks, it's awkward sometimes, and I need to think about that. And so I may be going back and making some changes, and I'll talk to you about all of that. So it's a learning process for me as well as I create new scenes, because this is not a scene I've seen anywhere. This is just something that I mean, we've all seen tunnels with concrete, but I decided, look, let's just model some stuff and put it in there. And it looks really cool with a matte cap. And then when you start thinking, okay, now materials, you go, oh shit, I gotta have concrete and metal and plastic and wood, and wait a second, would wood even be in there? Does that make sense? You know, that kind of stuff. So there are some things I need to figure out. So I will go off on my own and do a little bit more texturing, and if there's something cool, then I will show you. The other thing that I wanted to tell you is I've been asked a bunch of times over the last number of months about doing some more beginner Blender tutorials. And so I want to do that in addition to this project and in addition to some of the other things that I've got coming for you. And so There is a watch tutorial that I did where I provided a graphic, and it's no longer available because I used to host that on my own personal web space, which is long gone. And so I want to recreate some of those beginner tutorials with new reference images where I model it and I create a reference and I put it on the Discord or something. So there are beginners out there who I feel I could help or I would like to help. And so I'm going to take a little bit of an offshoot and do some of that while I'm also working on this in the background, and then somehow we will all dovetail together and go our merry way together. So that's it for the time being. Thank you very much for coming by, and I look forward to showing you more of this and more of that in the near future. Take care.